April 8, 1943, 27,000 feet above France. German ace Ralph Hermikin couldn't stop laughing as he watched the massive American fighters struggling upward. "The Americans have sent us flying milk bottles." Below him, 16 Republic P-47 Thunderbolts, 7-ton beasts with barrel-shaped fuselages, lumbered through the sky. To the veteran Luftwaffe pilots, these corpulent American machines looked almost comical. What those German pilots didn't know, what they couldn't have imagined, was that they were witnessing the arrival of the weapon that would systematically destroy the Luftwaffe. Within 18 months, these flying milk bottles would transform from objects of mockery into instruments of terror. 8 synchronized Browning machine guns, 3,400 rounds of ammunition, 6,000 rounds per minute combined rate of fire. Enough firepower to saw a Messerschmitt in half in under 2 seconds. The Germans laughed in April 1943. They stopped laughing by 1945. This is the story of why. June 1940. As German fighters sweep across France, Alexander Kartveli, Republic Aviation's Georgian-born chief designer, receives urgent specifications from the U.S. Army Air Corps. They want a high-altitude interceptor capable of matching the Luftwaffe's best. What Kartveli designs instead is a monster. "It will be a dinosaur," he admits to his design team, "but it will be a dinosaur with good proportions." The XP-47B prototype that first flies on May 6, 1941, shocks everyone who sees it. Empty weight, 9,900 pounds, 65% heavier than its predecessor. Massive turbo-supercharger system. Almost pregnant appearance. Test pilots approaching it for the first time invariably ask the same question, "This thing actually flies?" Not only does it flies like nothing else at altitude. The Pratt & Whitney R280, 0 double wasp, 18-cylinder radial engine, 2,000 horsepower, can maintain full power at 27,000 feet, where German fighters gasp for air. The turbo-supercharger, fed by exhaust gases, delivers sea-level performance in the stratosphere, where the air is too thin for conventional superchargers. But there's a problem, a big problem. Major Hubert "Hub" Zemke, commanding the 56th Fighter Group, initially despises the aircraft. Training losses, September 1942 to January 1943. 18 pilots killed. 41 aircraft destroyed. The P-47 kills more Americans in training than Germans will in the first months of combat. It ground loops on landing. It torque rolls on takeoff. It dives with such enthusiasm that pilots discover compressibility, their controls freezing as shock waves form on the wings. But those who master it discover something extraordinary. Lieutenant Robert Johnson, a farm boy from Oklahoma, who will become one of America's top aces. "It was like strapping yourself to a locomotive. The power was unbelievable. You didn't fly it, you aimed it." In April 1943, the P-47 goes to war, and the Germans start laughing. The first combat encounters confirm every German prejudice. The P-47s can't turn with the Focke-Wulf 19s, can't climb with the Messerschmitt 19s, can't match their nimble handling at medium altitudes. Luftwaffe pilots quickly develop tactics to exploit these weaknesses. Attack from below where the heavy Thunderbolts struggle. Force-turning fights where agility matters more than firepower. Hauptmann Josef Pips. Priller, commanding Jagdgeschwader 26, reports to headquarters after his first encounter. The new American fighter is meat for the slaughter. It flies like a truck, turns like a freight train, climbs like a pregnant cow. Our boys are calling them Indianer, fat targets pretending to be warriors. The statistics seem to confirm German confidence. First month of operations, 14 Thunderbolts lost. Only 3 confirmed German kills. The RAF, observing from their Spitfire squadrons, quietly suggests the Americans might reconsider their choice. British pilots joke that the best evasive maneuver in a P-47 is to unstrap and run around the roomy cockpit. The Germans are laughing, the British are skeptical, the Americans are dying, but something strange is happening. Something German intelligence fails to notice. The P-47s that are shot down have absorbed incredible punishment before falling. May 4th, 1943. One aircraft returns with 21 cannon holes and over 100 machine gun strikes. Damage that would have disintegrated a Messerschmitt or Spitfire. The massive radial engine, lacking vulnerable coolant systems, shrugs off hits that would have stopped a liquid-cooled fighter cold. And when P-47s do get their guns on target, the results are catastrophic. June 26, 1943, over Laval, France. Second Lieutenant Robert S. Johnson of the 61st Fighter Squadron is about to experience something that will change everything. His formation of 48 P-47s is returning from escort duty when they're bounced by 16 Focke-Wulf 190s, led by Hauptmann Wilhelm Ferdinand Galland, younger brother of the famous Adolf Galland. The Germans execute a perfect attack, diving from the sun with overwhelming speed advantage. Johnson's Thunderbolt, flying at the rear of the formation, is caught in the crossfire. 21 20mm cannon shells explode across his aircraft. The canopy shatters. Hydraulic fluid sprays into the cockpit. The engine cowling is torn away. Fire erupts behind the instrument panel. Johnson, wounded in the nose and leg, tries to bail out. The canopy is jammed, welded shut by a 20mm shell exploding in the canopy track. He's trapped in a dying aircraft at 27,000 feet, despite having no forward visibility through the oil-covered windscreen. A barely functioning engine shaking violently. Controls responding only intermittently, Johnson manages to level the aircraft and point it toward England. Then it gets worse. A lone Focke-Wulf 190 discovers the crippled Thunderbolt limping toward the channel at less than 170 miles per hour. What follows is one of the most extraordinary encounters in aerial warfare history. The German pilot positions himself behind Johnson's P-47 and opens fire. All 4 20mm cannon, 2 13mm machine guns. Johnson can only huddle behind his armor plate and pray. The Thunderbolt absorbs the entire cannon ammunition load. Still it flies. The German repositions, fires again with only machine guns, cannon ammunition exhausted. Still it flies. The German pilot pulls alongside, staring in disbelief at the flying wreck. Johnson can see his face clearly. Young, blonde, his expression shifting from confidence to confusion to something approaching fear. The German repositions one more time, empties his remaining machine gun ammunition into the Thunderbolt. Still, it flies. He pulls alongside again, shakes his head in apparent amazement, gives an informal salute, and peels away, out of ammunition. Johnson's P-47 lands at Manston with its engine failing on the runway. The crew chief stops counting bullet holes after reaching 200. One cannon shell had exploded inches from Johnson's head. Another detonated against the armor plate behind his seat. The engine had taken direct hits. Control cables were partially severed. 3 of the 4 main longerons, the structural backbone of the fuselage, were shot through. Yet the aircraft had brought him home. The survival of Johnson's aircraft sends shockwaves through both air forces. American engineers realize they've underestimated their own creation. German intelligence, receiving combat reports, initially refuses to believe it. No aircraft could absorb that much punishment, but testimony from multiple pilots confirms the impossible. The Thunderbolt had taken everything the Luftwaffe's best fighter could deliver and survived. By July 1943, American pilots are learning to exploit the P-47's true strengths. Lieutenant Colonel Hubert Zemke has discovered the secret through brutal trial and error. Don't turn with them, don't climb with them at low altitude, use your weight, use your power, use your guns. The Thunderbolt's massive weight, initially seen as a disadvantage, becomes a weapon. In a dive, nothing can catch it. From 30,000 feet, a P-47 can reach 550 miles per hour, faster than any German fighter can achieve, even in a vertical dive. This speed can be converted to altitude in a zoom climb that leaves pursuing fighters helplessly behind. Captain Walker Bud Mahurin develops what becomes known as the boom and zoom tactic, though pilots call it the Thunderbolt turkey shoot. Instead of traditional dogfights, 1. P-47 formations climb to 30,000 feet, higher than German fighters can effectively operate. 2. When Luftwaffe fighters appear below, Thunderbolts roll inverted and dive 3. Reach speeds making deflection shooting impossible for Germans 4. At bottom of dive, American heavy machine guns speak German pilots who survive describe it as facing a wall of lead. The combined firepower creates an impenetrable zone of destruction. Aircraft caught in this convergence pattern don't just fall, they disintegrate. August 17, 1943. The deepest penetration into Germany attempted to date. This mission demonstrates both the P-47's limitations, range even with drop tanks, and its terrifying effectiveness. Major David Schilling, leading the 62nd Fighter Squadron, encounters a formation of Messerschmitt 110 destroyer aircraft, heavy twin-engine fighters positioning to attack B-17S with cannon and rockets. Schilling's flight of 4 Thunderbolts rolls into their attack dive from 28,000 feet. Unteroffizier Hinrich Roth, a gunner in one of the Me-100s who survives. The American fighters came down like hammers from heaven. I opened fire at 800 meters. Good hits, I saw them strike the fighter's wing. The P-47 didn't even wobble. Then he fired. The aircraft ahead of us simply came apart. Not shot down, destroyed. Wings separated from fuselage, tail severed, crew compartment shredded into metal confetti. In 2 seconds, and Me-110 became nothing. 8. Messerschmitt 100s destroyed in less than a minute. Each P-47 carried 425 rounds per gun. 3,400 rounds total. Weighing nearly 900 pounds, at convergence distance, 300 yards, all 8 guns' ballistic paths intersect in a zone roughly 6 feet in diameter. Anything in that zone faces 100.50-inch projectiles per second, each traveling at 2,900 feet per second. September 1943. The Luftwaffe discovers another horrifying reality about the P-47. Its performance improves dramatically with altitude, while German fighters suffer. The turbo-supercharged double Wasp maintains rated power output up to 30,000 feet. German fighters with mechanical superchargers see performance degrade significantly above 25,000 feet. October 8, 1943. Oberleutnant Hans Philipp, one of Germany's most successful aces with 206 victories, encounters this reality, fatally leading Jagdgeschwader 1 against a B-17 formation at 28,000 feet. Philipp finds his Focke-Wulf 190 sluggish and unresponsive. The BMW 801 engine, powerful at medium altitudes, is gasping for oxygen nearly 6 miles above Earth. When P-47s of the 56th Fighter Group dive on his formation from 32,000 feet, the German fighters are sitting ducks. Robert Johnson, the survivor of June 26th, now an experienced combat pilot, is flying at 31,000 feet when he spots Philipp's distinctive Focke-Wulf. His combat report is clinical. Opened fire at 300 yards, 30-degree deflection. Observed strikes along entire fuselage. Enemy aircraft exploded, no parachute observed. Philipp's death sends shock waves through the Luftwaffe. If one of their best, a man who survived over 500 combat missions, couldn't survive against Thunderbolts, what chance did average pilots have? January 1944, a new variant begins arriving in England that completes the transformation from laughingstock to nightmare. The P-47 D-22 features Hamilton standard hydromatic propellers with paddle blades, 13 feet in diameter with broad chord blades that bite into the air like massive oars. Climb rate improvement. Earlier Thunderbolts, 2,200 feet per minute at sea level. paddle blade variants, 3,000 feet per minute, matching or exceeding German fighters at most altitudes. Hauptmann Heinrich Knöke of Jagdgeschwader, 11 veteran with over 200 combat missions, February 1944. The fat American fighters have learned to climb. We bounced a formation near Hanover expecting our usual advantage. They turned into us and climbed with us. When we tried to disengage, they followed us up to 30,000 feet. Schmidt was caught and blown apart. Nothing left but smoke and fragments. These are not the same machines we laughed at last year. The paddle blade propeller does more than improve performance. It changes the sound of the Thunderbolt. The distinctive thundering roar created by blade tips reaching supersonic speeds can be heard from miles away. A deep, threatening rumble that means death from above. German ground troops begin calling it Donnerschlag, thunderclap. By March 1944, P-47s equipped with external fuel tanks can escort bombers deep into Germany. Standard configuration, 2 108-gallon wing tanks or 1 75-gallon belly tank. Extended range, over 1,000 miles, Major Gunther Rahl, one of Germany's top aces with 275 victories, mostly on the Eastern Front, survives an encounter with P-47s on March 6, 1944, badly wounded. Post-war interview. We saw them above us, fat silhouettes against the sun. Someone laughed and said, "Here come the flying pigs." Nobody was laughing 30 seconds later. They came down like an avalanche, faster than we could react. The first pass destroyed 3 of our fighters, just gone, transformed into burning debris. Their guns didn't fire in bursts like ours. They poured out solid streams of fire. Getting caught in that stream meant instant death. As P-51 Mustangs arrived to take over long-range escort duties in spring 1944, P-47 units increasingly focus on ground attack, a role that will make them the most feared aircraft in the German arsenal. The Thunderbolt's heavy machine gun battery proves equally effective against ground targets. Standard armor-piercing incendiary ammunition can penetrate the top armor of most German vehicles. A 2-second burst puts 160 half-inch projectiles into a target area the size of a truck, but it's the addition of bombs and rockets that transforms the P-47 into a true multi-role monster. The D-25 variant can carry 2 1,000-pound bombs under wings, 1 500-pounder under fuselage, equal to early war medium bombers. Later variants add zero-length rocket stubs for 10 5-inch HZHVARs, high-velocity aircraft rockets, each equivalent to a 105mm artillery shell, June 6, 1944. The Luftwaffe discovers how completely the balance of power has shifted. Over 500 P-47s provide air cover for the invasion, creating an impenetrable umbrella over the beaches. German fighters attempting to reach the landing zones are massacred. Oberleutnant Wolfgang Fischer of Jagdgeschwader, one of only 3 German pilots to reach the beaches that day. The sky belonged to the Americans. Thunderbolts were stacked from sea level to 30,000 feet. We tried to break through at dawn, 12 fighters from our Gruppe. I was the only one to return. The P-47s were waiting at every altitude. You couldn't climb over them, couldn't dive under them. Their guns turned our fighters into aluminum rain. In the weeks following D-Day, P-47 systematically destroyed German movement in daylight. Claimed, destroyed. 651 locomotives, 3,847 trucks, 512 tanks and armored vehicles, 4,553 horse-drawn vehicles. The Wehrmacht is forced to move only at night, severely hampering their ability to respond to Allied advances. Oberst Hans von Luck, commanding the 125th Panzergrenadier Regiment during the Normandy campaign. They came in low, so low you could see the pilots' faces. The sound was terrifying. Engines roaring, rockets screaming, then the hammer of those heavy machine guns. A column of our trucks simply ceased to exist. 20 vehicles transformed into burning wreckage in one pass. The psychological effect on the men was devastating. They called them jabos, fighter bombers. But these were something beyond that. They were flying artillery with the accuracy of snipers. Perhaps the ultimate vindication of the P-47's evolution comes in encounters with German jet fighters. The Messerschmitt Me-262, with its 540 miles per hour top speed, should be untouchable by propeller-driven fighters. But Thunderbolt pilots discover they can catch jets in two situations. 1. During takeoff and landing, most vulnerable. 2. In high-speed dives from altitude November 27, 1944. Lieutenant Colonel John C. Meyer of the 352nd Fighter Group becomes one of the first pilots to shoot down an Me-262 with a P-47. Diving from 28,000 feet, Meyer's Thunderbolt reaches speeds approaching 500 miles per hour, fast enough to catch the jet in level flight. The jet pilot, confident in his speed advantage, never sees the diving P-47 until Meyer's guns open up at 400 yards. Meyer's combat report. The enemy aircraft disintegrated under fire. Large pieces, including both engines, separated from fuselage. Pilot did not escape. The concentrated fire of 8.50 caliber guns proved more effective than we anticipated against jet aircraft. By early 1945, specialized P-47M variants are deployed specifically to counter German jets and V-1 flying bombs. With water methanol injection, power boost, 2,800 horsepower, refined aerodynamics, top speed, 470 miles per hour in level flight at 30,000 feet, fast enough to intercept even jets under certain conditions. Major George Bostwick, commanding the 63rd Fighter Squadron equipped with P-47Ms, shoots down two Me-262S in March 1945. His tactical report: "The jets are faster, but they can't turn and they can't take punishment. One good burst from our battery and they come apart like they're made of paper. They have to slow down to attack bombers. That's when we get them." The ultimate demonstration of American industrial might comes during Operation Bodenplatte, the Luftwaffe's desperate attempt to destroy Allied air power on January 1, 1945. Nearly 900 German fighters, including their best remaining pilots, launch surprise attacks on Allied airfields across Belgium and the Netherlands. At Y-34 airfield near Metz, home to the 365th Fighter Group's P-47s, the attack initially succeeds. German fighters destroy 22 Thunderbolts on the ground along with several other aircraft. A captured German pilot, brought to the command post, points at the burning aircraft and taunts, "What do you think of that?" Major George Brooking's response becomes legendary throughout the 9th Air Force. He points to the flight line where ground crews are already pushing damaged aircraft aside and preparing hard stands for replacements. "By tomorrow we'll have 40 new ones. How long will it take you to replace your pilots?" The German pilot's smirk disappears. Within 48 hours. Factory fresh P-47 D-40S fill the flight line. Flown in from depots in England, the Luftwaffe lost 271 aircraft, 213 pilots, including many irreplaceable instructors and squadron leaders. These losses they could never replace. The Americans lost 134 aircraft total across all attacked airfields, all replaced within a week. The numbers tell the story of inevitable defeat. Republic Aviation produced 15,683 P-47s during the war, more than any other American fighter. At peak production, the Farmingdale factory on Long Island completed one Thunderbolt every hour, around the clock. The Evansville plant in Indiana, built from empty farmland in 1942, was producing 500 aircraft per month by 1944. Each P-47D required 65,000 individual parts, 8 miles of electrical wiring, 2,000 pounds of aluminum, 300 pounds of rubber, engine alone, 2,400 components machined to thousandths of an inch. Yet American workers, many of them women who had never seen an aircraft before. Pearl Harbor assembled these complex machines with precision exceeding peacetime standards. Each P-47 sortie required 3,400 rounds of .50 caliber ammunition. With hundreds of Thunderbolts flying daily missions, ammunition consumption exceeded 10 million rounds per month by mid-1944. The Lake City Arsenal in Missouri, one of several ammunition plants, produced 30 million rounds monthly, each cartridge manufactured to tolerances measured in 10,000ths of an inch. March 1945. Hauptmann Josef Pips Priller, the same pilot who mocked the P-47s as pregnant cows 2 years earlier, is interviewed by German propaganda officials seeking to boost morale. His statement is deemed too demoralizing for publication. The Thunderbolt is the best fighter bomber ever built. Its firepower is unprecedented. Weapons that never jam, never overheat, never run out of ammunition in normal combat. It carries bombs like a medium bomber, fires rockets like artillery, and fights like a fighter when needed. But beyond the machine is what it represents. Unlimited American production. They lose 10, they build 20. We lose one, it's gone forever. Their pilots arrive better trained than our instructors. They have fuel for training, ammunition for practice, spare parts for everything. We have nothing but courage, and courage without resources is just delayed defeat. We laughed at them in 1943. We're not laughing now. When you hear those guns, you know death has come calling. The sound haunts us, mechanical, precise, unstoppable. Like everything American, it's about overwhelming material superiority. They didn't beat us through better tactics or braver pilots. They buried us under an avalanche of steel and lead. The final statistics of P-47 operations defy comprehension. Aerial combat: 3,752 German aircraft destroyed, 3,315 aircraft destroyed on the ground attack, 86,000 railway cars destroyed, 9,000 locomotives destroyed, 6,000 armored fighting vehicles destroyed, 68,000 trucks destroyed, 697 Japanese aircraft destroyed in aerial combat, 150 aircraft destroyed on the ground, 1,500 vehicles destroyed, 150 locomotives destroyed, countless barges, ships, and installations. The 9th Air Force alone, primarily P-47s, 213,873 combat sorties, 120,000 tons of bombs dropped, 135 million rounds of ammunition fired, 60,000 rockets launched. The Thunderbolt units achieved a 4.6 to 1 kill ratio in aerial combat, while maintaining the lowest loss rate of any Allied fighter bomber. Behind these numbers lay the human cost. The Luftwaffe lost approximately 28,000 pilots killed in combat against Western Allied forces. Many fell to the concentrated fire of American heavy machine guns. Each loss represented years of training Germany could never replace. By war's end, average German fighter pilot, less than 30 hours combat experience. Average P-47 pilot, over 200 hours, at the Luftwaffe Interrogation Center at Oberursel. Captured Allied pilots were debriefed by German intelligence. The records captured in 1945 reveal German assessments of Allied aircraft. The file on the P-47, updated continuously throughout the war, shows the complete reversal of opinion. April 1943. Large maneuverable fighter, inferior to German types in all performance parameters except dive speed. Machine gun armament insufficient against cannon-armed fighters. Assessment: minimal threat. December 1943. Exceptional high-altitude performance, extreme structural strength, firepower increasingly problematic, pilots showing improved tactics. Assessment: significant threat above 25,000 feet. June 1944. Dominant fighter bomber, superior to all German types above 20,000 feet. Firepower devastating against all target types. Structural strength makes shoot-down extremely difficult. Assessment: critical threat at all altitudes. March 1945. Best fighter bomber of the war. Combination of firepower, durability, and performance unmatched. Pilot quality exceptional. Assessment: unsurvivable in direct engagement. A reunion of German and American fighter pilots. Former adversaries meet in peace. General Lieutenant Adolf Galland, former head of the Luftwaffe fighter arm, is asked about the P-47. His response, recorded on video, captures the complete transformation. "We made a terrible mistake in 1943. We saw this big, heavy fighter and laughed. The Americans don't understand air combat," we said. "They built a bomber and called it a fighter." We were the ones who didn't understand. The Americans didn't try to build a European fighter. They built an American one, designed around production, firepower, and survivability. They understood that in a war of attrition, the plane that could take punishment and deliver devastating firepower would win. They were right. The first time I flew a captured P-47 after the war, I understood everything. The power was incredible. It climbed like it was falling upward. The cockpit was comfortable, visibility excellent, controls precise. It was a pilot's aircraft wrapped in armor. But what really impressed me was realizing that America built over 15,000 of these complex machines while fighting a two-ocean war. Each one required an engine more complex than anything Germany produced, yet they built them faster than we could build simple fighters. That's when I knew we never had a chance. Those guns. We called them Roosevelt's piano because of the sound they made. Once you heard that sound, you never forgot it. Many of my friends heard it for the last time. The P-47 didn't just defeat the Luftwaffe, it destroyed it. The P-47's design represented American industrial philosophy perfectly. Brute force engineering backed by unlimited resources. Every component was overbuilt, overpowered, over-engineered. Wing spars could support 40,000 pounds, 3 times loaded weight. Engine mount could withstand 12 G forces. Control cables doubled throughout with automatic backup systems. The ammunition feed system alone was a marvel of engineering. 8 separate ammunition boxes, each holding 425 rounds, fed through electric boost motors to prevent jamming during high G maneuvers. Guns electrically heated to prevent freezing at altitude. Each gun with its own charging mechanism, individually synchronized. Convergence adjustable from 150 to 400 yards. At the United States Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio, a restored P-47D sits among other legendary fighters. A small display case contains spent .50 caliber shells and a strip of gun camera film showing a Focke-Wulf 190 disintegrating under fire. Below the display, a quote from an unnamed German pilot taken from a 1945 interrogation report. "We laughed when we first saw them. Fat, ugly American fighters that couldn't turn, couldn't climb, couldn't fight. We stopped laughing when we realized they didn't need to turn or climb. They just pointed those guns at you and you ceased to exist. The laughter died with our comrades." The P-47 Thunderbolt entered combat as an object of derision. It ended the war as an instrument of annihilation. In between, 8 synchronized Browning machine guns rewrote the rules of aerial warfare and buried the Luftwaffe under an avalanche of lead. German pilots had laughed at the ungainly American fighter in April 1943. By May 1945, there were no German pilots left to laugh. The thunder had spoken, and the sky belonged to America. If this story of American ingenuity, industrial might, and the transformation from mockery to legend resonated with you, smash that like button. Subscribe for more untold stories of World War II aviation, the machines, the men, and the battles that changed history. Drop a comment. Which World War II fighter would you have wanted to fly? P-47, Thunderbolt, P-51 Mustang, or something else? Check out our video on the P-51 Mustang's long-range escort missions or the story of the Tuskegee Airmen. Thank you for keeping these stories alive, remember. They laughed in 1943. Nobody was laughing by 1945. Subscribe to stay connected with these histories that shaped our world. Leave a comment below telling us where you're watching from. You are part of something important here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for remembering. And thank you for helping keep these lessons alive.